Unified communications holds many definitions based upon who and how you ask. Can each of you really, as a starting question, speak to what you believe the concept of UC is and how it delivers to businesses in a more greater sense?
I do think unified communications is in the eyes of the beholder. So as you're bringing more and more things together that bring more value to the business, you see that as a unifying factor. And whether I'm coming from a world that's primary telephony and now I'm seeing value of bringing video into the fold, I think that is unified communications in some people's definition. Others, it's, wow, there's this thing called instant messaging. I think that's neat. Increasingly, what we're seeing is bringing the world of mobile, the world of desktop, and the world of video together into a seamless fashion. And that is really what's unifying how work gets done. And the more you can integrate that capability into a seamless workflow process that's integrated with business applications, now you're really getting to what I like to think of as unified business process as opposed to unified communications, because that's what matters. How do I get work done? How do I have more effective meetings? How do I have more effective employees? That's what matters, not the technology.
Thank you. Bob?
So I think actually, let's look at the history a little bit. So if you look at the history of UC, it almost started out, I think it was October 14th, 1998. Cisco bought Celsius. They started unifying the communications with the data network infrastructure, so we kind of started there. Now the clients have kind of gotten unified. If you look at what we can do with our iPhones today, it's rather unified. I see the services and applications layer as the next level of unification, and mobility has just started. So mobility, you know, BYOD, it's not just BYOD, it's consumerization of IT. To me, that is going to be the driver of bringing all this stuff together in the future. So it's really taking all forms of communication, bringing them together in a seamless way, which, by the way, will require, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, open infrastructures for UC, as well as standard protocols that we all use to make that all work.
From my perspective, I try to always start with the users and their applications. And from my perspective, Richard commented, you know, UC's in the eye of the beholder. As the Brits would say, it's horses for courses, right? It really depends on what your application is, your communication need, the work that you're trying to accomplish, and the collaboration you're trying to take advantage of with your peers and coworkers, et cetera. The last thing I guess I would say is, you know, oftentimes we talk about the future of work. And I think the dialogue is going to start to evolve around the work of the future and how the fundamental structure of how we work and the type of work we do, the data, the information, the content, the analytics that come with and can be delivered by the different elements of UC are going to really reshape the way we fundamentally work. And not just where we work, but actually the type of work that we do on a daily basis. And so I think UC is still pretty, without a doubt, very nascent, and will continue to grow and evolve and change. And I think will definitely add value for many of the different communities that you had in your earlier slides.
You know, unified communications has been out for over 8 years now, you know? And so the real question is, you know, do you believe that UC really has lived up to its potential and expectations? And why or why not?
From some aspects of it, it has. From other aspects, it hasn't. So if you look at from integration of services and applications, multi-vendor, that has not lived up to the expectation. Unified means we have one substantiation of a communications platform, and that has not happened. So I think there's some growth there. I don't think that we're all embracing open standards in the way that we need to make that work. And I also believe that we will never achieve nirvana of unified communications because it's always evolving. We want, you know, social media, is that part of our unification, unified communications platform? Well, it probably should be, but hasn't been fully integrated yet. And so I think we're chasing it, and we've got a ways to go.
Okay.
I would say most users don't care. And quite frankly, we've all been focused on the technology piece of this. The customer, the users, the line of business decision makers, they care about the experience. They care about what it can do for them. How is it easier to communicate? How is it easier to serve customers? How is it easier to have a meeting? So as I said yesterday, you know, historically we've all led with technology first, and oh, by the way, we'll bolt on an end user experience later. We've all got to flip that model to focus on the end user experience. What are they trying to accomplish in their business? How do we give that really, excellent, amazing experience to a customer so that the technology, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They just want it to be simple to use, and they want to be able to use it on every device, across every experience, period, end of story. And that's where you guys come in. Hide all that complexity from the end user and give them that excellent experience. They don't want unified communications. They want easy, simple, great experiences.
The last thing I'd add is that you shouldn't have to hide the complexity, right? We should hide the complexity. We should eliminate the complexity. And so I think that from my perspective, is the value of UC, has it met expectations? For some users, without a doubt, it has met expectations, right? Some of the numbers that you shared, and we all have customers who have been incredibly successful with their UC strategy. They've driven the dollars to the bottom line. They've increased productivity. They've enhanced the collaboration capabilities of their teams. And we all sadly have customers who haven't, right? And that's the reality of where the industry is today. What we need to do as manufacturers and you as our partners need to, again, stay focused on those critical business issues, on those applications, put those as the first priority, and allow the communications, the technology, and the UC enablement to enhance those. And so I think that that's the job that we need to do better to provide the incremental value of UC. The last thing I'd comment about this is I happened to be in New York last week with a number of accounts and banking accounts and financial institutions, and one of them said, first comment he said, "Please don't talk to me about UC." I said, no worries, because I was there to interview him, not to pitch. And but so I asked him why, and he said, the minute I hear UC, I know someone's coming right behind all that with a rip and replace strategy and a story about how we need to put in our UC portfolio from top to bottom to achieve nirvana, et cetera. And he said, I don't want to have that dialogue with another vendor. And I think that that is the strategy for some organizations. And so I think, as the comment that Bob mentioned around trying to drive not open standards, it's not open standards, it's open comma standards, right? We do all use standards. The problem is we don't all necessarily open one another to those standards and to those stacks and to that information that would allow us to provide a higher quality, more seamless UC integration. And so I think that that's something that we do definitely need to evolve on to provide greater value.
If you were a reseller, where would you put your focus right now? Any particular technologies, market segments, verticals?
I would focus on mobility and cloud. They're real trends. I think we realize that. They're very relevant. And from the perspective of your customers, I think they're a little bit confused by all the noise around mobility and cloud, and they're looking for someone to come and help them. I had, when I was in channels over at this other company to my left, my boss told me that the margin is in the mystery and for our partners. So, and they are, I would say, they're having a challenge, the customers are having a challenge with understanding this mobility in the cloud space. Be an expert in that. Go out and develop a practice with all these devices that are coming in from a unified communications perspective. Develop a practice in BYOD policy. Think about that. They have no idea what to do.
No clue.
None. So you develop a practice. You're already on the business side of the house. I went to an investment firm it was in New Jersey actually, and they were talking about their BYOD strategy. I was like, great, what's your BYOD strategy? Well, we're going to put one wireless access point in the cafeteria, and we're going to enable one application on our BlackBerry device. I'm thinking, that's not a strategy. So they need help. So if I were you, I would focus on this trend, these two trends, cloud and mobility, and I would drive a practice around that. And then the last piece of that, what ties into it, is the mid-market. The mid-market is a huge opportunity. We saw it earlier today, and we've seen it the last couple of days. And Avaya is very focused on the mid-market, and we can talk about that later, but that's my advice.
So who woke up this morning thinking we need another technology? Yeah, WebRTC, H.265, you name it, right? There's a ton of technologies out there. We're all involved, and we are all doing parts and pieces about all of that. No one needs new technology. I think the last thing you really want to talk about is technology until someone asks you to be educated, and then you need to be ready to do that. I agree that from my the perspective that Bob said was mid-market. Bottom line, if you're going to be an enterprise, be focused and understand the challenges and the desires and needs of the enterprise. Or in the mid-market, no question about it, it's a massively untapped part of our collective opportunity space. But then understand mid-market, understand them intimately, and understand even those verticals that are specific to your organization or not. You can be a successful horizontal player, but then understand that that's what you want to be. Don't pretend to be a player that wants to be part of healthcare or government and really deliver on a horizontal, from a horizontal perspective. So from my thinking, ignore the technology. You need, it's important, but it's kind of like air. We don't walk around all the time going, am I getting enough oxygen, right? But we need it. We need the technology, no question. We need evolution in technology. But from your perspective, to grow the business, I think mid-market's a big opportunity space, but carve out your niche and do that with purpose. I hate to go back to Mr. Spruce, but I definitely would say carve out your purpose and stick to that and deliver incredibly well in that space. And word of mouth and reputation will carry you through.
I would say that market transitions create amazing opportunities. And I've been in this industry almost 30 years. I know I don't look like it, but almost 30 years. I've never seen as many market transitions occurring as are occurring right now. And I think the key is, how do we all take advantage of that? And those market transitions include mobility, they include cloud, they include video, they include bring your own device, bring your own application, the consumerization. There's massive things going on. And depending upon who you're talking to within an organization, if it's the CIO, all these represent significant threats they're wrestling with. And to Bob's point, how do I deal with those effectively? If you're in a line of business, they're creating opportunities. So how do I capitalize on those and turn those technologies into business advantages? And I think the opportunity we all have is to kind of stand in between those two, to make the CIO comfortable that here are some ways in which you can be secure in leveraging these technologies, and at the same time speak the language of the business decision maker of here's how these technologies can bring you advantages. And if you think about the single biggest thing that's happening right now, it's really what's the mobile device? If you think about the mobile device, this is what we all live and die by. And how do we take advantage of this in the business and integrate this into it and bring all the great capabilities of enterprise class communications along with business class video, along with business process integration? That becomes a real key. But again, that's opportunity for you. And yes, where there is mystery, there is margin for you. And the more the vendors can help you in terms of creating seamless solutions for you to deploy, all the better. But think about it from your customer's point of view. And you've got two audiences to play with. How do I help you minimize risk? And how do I help you capture business opportunity? And if you can speak both of those languages and help the CIO add more value, all the better. And the good news, in a small to mid-sized business, they're the same person. So you can speak both languages to the same person.
So here's an interesting question. Best of breed versus single vendor solution. So what's best for the resellers and their customers out there? Bob?
I would say best of breed. And fundamentally, I think that what you have to do is pick a foundational UC system. Avaya, we believe we have the best foundational UC system. It's a shameless plug. But on top of that, identify the applications that would make sense for the customer. I think it's naive to think that a vendor can come up with a full stack of everything from the foundational UC elements all the way up to the application layer. So I would go best of breed, and I'll keep the answer short there.
Okay.
I would say best in interoperability would be the first choice. And I would say the more that you can have common layers within one vendor, that has advantages to you, okay? There's very strong hidden cost in terms of training, stock and repairs, time of repair for your customers if you have to deal with 15 different vendors. So the more you can narrow the vendors and have best in class in each of the segments of the categories, that's a beautiful thing. And if you can do that in best in class interoperability, so that you're supporting all the devices and applications that are out there that integrated stack has to work with, all the better. But if I were in your shoes, thinking about how can I simplify my training, how can I simplify my stocking and repairs, how can I have one common management system across multiple segments of the solution, that all adds value and profit to you. So that would be one of my responses.
So my response would be simpler: is how can you delight your customer? And from my perspective and from the customers that I meet on a regular basis, the vast bulk of them are looking for best of breed. They're looking for and they're expecting you, as part of your value add, to be able to service them and to be the expert and to be the knowledgeable ones and to deliver that as part of your value add. And that's what they're looking, to invest in. So delight your customer, give them what they need, focus on them, and your bottom line should be able to come through in the process.
Customers don't want to do the rip and replace. So how can I leverage my legacy investments and move them forward? And I think the conversation around cloud is one of the key aspects to this. So nothing allows you to carry forward legacy investments like cloud. And I'll use WebEx as an example. To be able to provide breakthrough capabilities in terms of meetings that include content sharing, video, audio, all tied together, and to have the ability for that to work on any device, any operating system, whether it's on the desktop or it's mobile. And now go one step further: how do I integrate real-time video telepresence into that as well? And I can do that on top of anybody's infrastructure from a network perspective, anybody's unified communications device. The cloud changes the game. So I would really encourage all you to get engaged in the cloud. And how does cloud multiply the value of the current investment and give you an opportunity to carry that investment forward into the future? And then over time, make those progressive changes.
What kind of traction are you seeing from your reseller community, and what is the opportunity for the resellers, Bob?
Yeah. So I think the opportunity is great, and I think our customers are looking at this from a OpEx versus CapEx construct, and it's actually driving business value back into the customer base. You start talking about these things, you're going to get higher up in the account. I guarantee you, when you start talking about an OpEx model versus a CapEx model, the person at the line level probably doesn't want that, because that probably has something to do with their job. It also, I would use the core versus context construct, where things are core to a company's business. Sometimes they want to keep that in a private cloud, a little more control for them, versus things that are more context. They have no problem with that going outside the cloud. But I'm actually pretty excited about what ScanSource is doing with us on IP Office. IP Office has a lot of capabilities from contact center and UC, video, and session border control. All that they're offering to you as a reseller. If you haven't heard this, you can certainly buy the product, the hardware, and you can go work that with your customer. Or you can deploy that as a software image onto your own server that you give your customer. Or they provide a ScanSource branded cloud offering, or a white label offering that you can offer. So really it turns us into more of a middleware provider and a software provider, and then you can take that and offer a cloud offering if you want to, white label it yourself, or you can go that through ScanSource. So I'm pretty excited about what we're doing with ScanSource on that. So I think cloud is a huge opportunity, and that ties back to my comment before about the mid-market. So perfect play into the mid-market with ScanSource.
John?
Yeah, if I could add anything to that, we're very encouraged by what's taking place in the marketplace with respect to cloud and with respect to just the addition of virtualization and leveraging that. One of the things that's interesting, Bob, is I'm actually seeing that line of business employee actually encouraged, because they're able to green light an investment in cloud because it's within their signature authority, right? So it's interesting. So I guess you get the yin and yang there on some of them are maybe a bit concerned about it, but a lot of them are saying, I can enable mobility, I can enable desktop to this degree of my organization, and I don't need 3 levels of signature authority, because it's going to be a CapEx or an OpEx spend that's inside my window, and then I can expand from there once I've shown success. So very encouraged, and certainly for the mid-market, massively in SMB as well down the road.
Yeah, and cloud is the fastest part of my business, and we're seeing massive growth in that regard. From a WebEx perspective, we have 11.5 million users. We do 2.6 billion conferencing minutes, and it is a line of business decision in many cases. In other cases, it's an enterprise-wide decision, so again, you can play to both sides of the market. Our hosted collaboration solution, which uses the exact same software that we have for the on-prem, we're now reached over 1.3 million end users. Last month, we had a sale for a major manufacturer. They purchased 45,000 end users in phase 1. So we're seeing massive growth occurring on those levels. And we're going to see some exciting things happening from a cloud perspective where we bring the capabilities of video tied together with WebEx and whole new breakthrough models. I think there's a hidden treasure here. Customers need help planning their architectural future. And that's a real opportunity for you. And the more you can be comfortable with the options and the journeys around cloud, and you're adding value to your customers, and by the way, you're charging for it, this professional service of, let me help you with your roadmap. That becomes a huge differentiator for you, a huge moneymaker for you, and a customer stickiness that we've not had for a long, long time.